Remember the password game?
It's 4:01. Mark, can you see if we have quorum? Is everybody logged in okay? Okay, we'll give it a minute. While we're waiting everyone to log in, the reason I'm sitting in the chairperson's seat is that Commissioner Bailey brought forth a new daughter named Eloise in September 12th. So and we'll get the meeting as soon as everybody's logged in. Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody else that's not signed in? Okay, you're doing yours.
Wow, look what you did.
Password.
Yeah, and you cannot, that's why I said here, because you have to do it with the internet. So what I might want you to do, JB, is maybe sit, what if you sit at a chair like this where you can see the screen?
Okay, I
'Cause
can
you're not
see it.
gonna-
I can see it from
Can
here.
you see it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what we'll do. Anybody else, because we're not gonna use the voting buttons. So you just need to have a screen that you can see.
I have it on my laptop.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do my laptop.
Yours is different than everybody else's. That is really weird. Why is yours not?
I need to say something to Randy real quick. Since we're
Looks like we have time.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. The time is 4:07 p.m. You have quorum.
Thank you, sir. And I'd like to welcome everyone. We now have quorum, and we'll begin the Oklahoma City Arts Commission's September 2021 regularly scheduled meeting. Before the commission votes on each item, I will ask staff to provide details of each case. I will ask if the applicant has anything to add, and I will ask if any of the members of the public wish to speak. If you wish to address the Arts Commission, you will be recognized. You will go to the side podium one at a time, state your name and address for the record, and begin your comments. Please limit those comments to no more than 3 minutes. So at this point, will you please conduct a roll call, Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bailey. Commissioner Kovash.
Present.
Commissioner Salyer. Commissioner Booker.
Here.
Commissioner Chambers. Commissioner Cooper.
Present.
Commissioner Duong. Commissioner Eichmann.
Present.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Loftus.
Present.
Commissioner Mosant.
Present.
Commissioner Ramirez. Commissioner Seward.
Present.
Commissioner Smalling.
Here, present.
Commissioner Williams. Mr. Chair, that completes, Mr. Chair, that completes the roll call vote. You have quorum.
Thank you. Our first item is number 2 on the agenda, approval of the meeting minutes from August 16th, 2021, regular meeting. I hope everyone has read through the minutes, and if there are no corrections to be brought to our attention, I will entertain a motion and a second.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Mark, will you please do a roll call vote?
Is that Loftus and Cooper?
Yes.
First, oh, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Kovash.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Cooper.
Aye.
Commissioner Eichmann.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Loftus.
Aye.
Commissioner Mosant.
Aye.
Commissioner Seward.
Aye.
Commissioner Smalling.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, that completes the vote. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3, items for discussion and action. Item A, Rio Florido Flowery River by Corinne Rolstad Studios and Beatriz Mallorca Visual Design Studios, LLC, 1% for the Art for Lower Scissortail Park, 1509 South Robinson Avenue, Unit RF, Ward 6. And if Randy could please present the item.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Randy Marks, Public Art Project Manager. Lower Scissortail Park, as you're probably very much aware, is currently under construction with a planned completion date of just under a year from now. The $121,000 1% for Art project is projected to be completed and installed at the optimal time in coordination with overall construction in time for the park opening day. The park extends south from I-40 at Skydance Bridge. Lower Park includes more natural and naturalistic and unprogrammed spaces than Upper Park does. It includes a lot of mature trees that were kept when the neighborhood was removed down there, and neighborhood and other businesses, et cetera. Overlook Hill, if you've been down there, is a 40-foot tall topographical addition to the park and will provide a unique, there's Skydance Bridge, and there's Overlook Hill, and it will provide a unique vantage point to Knuckle Plaza where Rio Florido is going to be installed. The call to artists went out with a request that artists think strongly about context and tell a story beyond the usual cliches. The selected artists responded to this by using as their starting point the intersection between 2 related contextual elements. One of them is the use of floral motifs across Hispanic cultures, and the other is the presence of beautiful Oklahoma wildflowers, which will be seen in various contexts in the rest of the park. Lower Park extends through the heart of a traditionally Hispanic neighborhood, just blocks from the Latino Community Development Agency, and also Little Flower Church, which is the spiritual heart of OKC's Catholic Latinx community. Rio, Florida, which means flowery river, was the result of this combination of the ideas proposed by internationally known artist Cora Rolstad and local artist Beatrice Mallorca, who combined on the team for this project. Rio, Florida has long stems and colorful blooms arranged in a meandering line, creating a year-round invitation to experience Lower Scissortail Park in all of its glory. The site for the installation of the sculpture is called Knuckle Plaza, and it's called that because it is the transition point from the promenade, which extends all the way from the upper park at Oklahoma City Boulevard in a long sinuous curve down to Knuckle Plaza, and then it makes a knuckle transition over to become a straight line along South Robinson Avenue. And the plaza, we feel very definitely, is destined to be a meeting point, a site for all kinds of activities, and probably the major gateway to Lower Park for most everybody who's approaching the park from the south part of Oklahoma City. Brightly colored floral designs fabricated from tough, hail-resistant acrylite will be seen at the tops of aluminum stems ranging from 11 feet to 18 feet in height. And a quick climb up the 40-foot Overlook Hill will provide a magnificent vantage point to look down upon the colorful floral array, the flowery river below. So this item is submitted for your consideration, and I will be happy to answer any questions you have about it.
Thank you, Randy. Do we have any member of the public who wishes to speak on this item? Okay. Any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Cooper.
I have a question about that is only tangentially related. I believe that I read fairly recently that they're anticipating a delay in the construction of Lower Scissortail because they found some polluting materials that had been buried. And I was wondering if it impacts the location of this installation.
It does not impact this location. So you're exactly right. There were, I think it was a dump for batteries that was found. It's in another part of the park, and while they're mitigating that problem, construction and all the rest of the park is ongoing. So there could be a slight delay, but they're not expecting a major delay because of this. The chief drawback to this was that there's an extra, I think, over $100,000 in costs that were not anticipated, which is unfortunate, but they'll be able to draw from contingency funds to take care of that.
So they're not going to have to remediate the land where this is located?
Not where this is. This area was either clean or cleaned, so they're not going to have to do anything to the Knuckle Plaza site.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you. Any other questions from Commissioner Loftus?
Randy, I was down there the other day, and there's a major berm at the very end of the park. And there's also a notch out in the park plan from somebody that won't sell. I don't see either one of those on here, so I'm having trouble figuring out where is this.
Okay, I'll go back to the map here. So you can see the big cutout, and that's where the parking lot for the meat company that is down there. The city could not come to terms, and so construction proceeded with that area left out. So that's the notch, the gray notch that's left out of the straight part of the 7 as you're looking at that design. So down there at the very bottom, well, let's see, let me go back again. Okay, so there's Skydance. This is Overlook Hill, which I'm pretty sure is what you were describing as a berm at the lower part of the park. So it is immediately north of Southwest 15th Street.
I can't get this map to come up, and I can't really see it.
Okay, would you like for me to send that map to you?
We don't have that map.
I don't have a physical copy of the map, but we can, I can send it to you after the meeting.
He's over here.
Presentation over
I have no idea where I am. Voila.
there. There it is.
How-
And that's the big berm you saw.
Yeah. And this is, well, the berm's right to the southwest of it then, right?
Yes. And there's Knuckle Plaza.
Huh, interesting, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So the promenade ends at Southwest 15th Street. I'll just note in passing, it says Riverfront Park on this map. That's actually Wiley Post Park, which is also undergoing major renovation right now. So this is part of it, again, this massive parks complex that starts basically at Myriad Gardens and extends down through Wiley Post Park and over to the new location for Manuel Perez Park, and then we'll continue to the west into Wheeler Parks. Really a magnificent parks complex that the city is in the business, is still constructing and renovating. And we have projects in all of them.
Any other commissioner questions? I do have one quick question. On the flower sculptures themselves, are they static or do they move like with the wind or anything?
They are static.
They are static,
Yeah.
okay. That's all I had. Anybody else?
I'll move to recommend.
Okay.
Second.
Second, do we have any conditions on this one?
Any,
Conditions?
So that was Commissioner Seward made the motion, and Commissioner Hill made the second.
There weren't any conditions on this one, were there? No. Okay.
we do have VERA waivers.
Okay, then I'll ask Mark for a roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Kovash,
Aye.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Aye.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Mossant, Commissioner Seward,
Aye.
Commissioner Smalling,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that completes the vote. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item, B, is Infinity Bench, a technical creation by Nathan Hendricks, True Facade, 119 East Reno Avenue, Unit 1B on the Bricktown Canal for Downtown Oklahoma City Partnership and ULI Oklahoma, a 2021 ULI micro grant, and it's in Ward 7. And Robbie will be presenting.
Yes, so we have the applicant here also, if there are any questions. But this is to provide activation and interest for the canal boats and for pedestrians. You can see there in the little box what the location is. I'm going to also bring you to one that's a little closer. Here's where the power comes from. I think the power comes from the existing power you've pulled from Brickopolis, right? That there was a previous project by the same artist, and it was for the Wanda Jackson Bridge, and it also included 2 vinyl murals, one by Kyle Von Osdol and one by Tiffany McKnight. And so the idea here is to extend the same electricity that they've already got permission to use. And then here's the spot. You can see that there's only improvements that can happen at this spot. You know, most of us, when we see this spot, we see graffiti and something that looks really ugly. And I guess when Nathan saw this spot, he saw an opportunity for an infinity bench because it creates like a shadow box effect the way it's set in. And he knows how to do this. So that's what his application is all about. Because we have an existing a public art installation and maintenance agreement that's been approved by council. The idea is that if Arts Commission recommends this and we go through the approval process and it is approved, that it would just be an amendment to that same contract, because we want to keep things simple. And then if there's another case later, we could also amend that, and they would all be on the same one and be managed that way. But the permitting for this, since this is in the Bricktown Design Review area, is it must be recommended by the Arts Commission, has to have a certificate of approval from the Bricktown Design Review Committee. Then that public art installation and maintenance agreement would have to be amended. And then the city engineer would need to review all the details of any fastenings. It would have to have an electrical permit because the electricity has to be extended. And then also the city engineer would issue an administrative revocable, which they do daily. The only conditions, if approved, were that those items for all the steps, the certificate of approval, the amendment to the contract, and the details, electrical permit and administrative revocable be done. So if there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer those. And like I said, the applicant is also here, if you have any questions for him.
Commissioner Cooper?
Is there the public art project that has been approved? Is it going on this blank concrete wall, or is it elsewhere
So there is a
around it?
previous public art project from over a year ago
Yeah.
that was lighting and vinyl murals under the bridge.
So is
So-
anything going around this bench on this wall?
Yes, excuse me, I didn't go very much far in my presentation here, did I? So here is a line drawing of what the artist is proposing, and what he does is creates a shadow box. Here are some other examples of what this infinity lighting does. So it insets in this inset box, but he creates it and brings electricity to it.
Okay.
And I think he describes it in his application. He might want to come up to the podium here and describe it a little further. I know there's an infinity mirror involved, and a regular mirror, and some lights.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Nathan Hendricks, and address is 116 East Sheridan, Suite 103.
Okay, why don't you explain kind of what you do for?
So what happens up here is basically there is a shadow box, like Robbie explained, and it can be however deep or shallow we decide to make it. The design as it stands right now would be about 8 inches of a shadow box that's sticking into that recessed part of the existing wall. The bench is pretty deep as it is, so 8 inches will still leave plenty of room to sit on there. So the way the effect is achieved is in the back. If you're facing the bench, the back of it has a standard mirror with a reflective surface on it. And then there's a piece of acrylic in front of that that has two-way mirror effect on it. So you can see into the glass, but anything that's on the other side of the glass, such as the lights that are going to go around the inside of the shadow box, are repeated, and it looks like it goes on forever. And as the lights move and change, it just makes an even cooler effect.
Thank you. I was having a little trouble envisioning that when I was looking at that piece of concrete.
Because I wasn't advancing, yeah. So one of the things, does the bench that is there, does it stay? Or does
Yes.
it move out a little bit?
Yes.
So it stays where it is?
The most simple version of this would be almost like a window just above the bench
Okay.
that you could look into and still have that effect. As long as material costs haven't gone up too much, I would like to encompass the entire opening, including underneath and around the bench, so that it looks like the bench goes on forever also.
Question on the type of glass that you're using on the very outside. What sort of thickness and what kind of glass are you using?
So right now, I've got it spec'd out. I believe it's 1/2 inch acrylic, and they make a film that you can apply yourself, kind of like window tint, or there is the actual prefabricated two-way mirror acrylic that you can use.
by being an acrylic, you're able to do it in one single pane, or is it going to be multiple panes?
It's going to be multiple panes. It'll probably be 4 in quadrants, just because that's the biggest that they come in. And I'm hoping there might need to be some sort of support back behind it, just for when people lean up against it. But that can also add a cool effect if it's just circles or squares. That will be a dark spot in the light that's illuminating, and that will look like it goes on forever too, so the aesthetic doesn't hurt.
And for the maintenance of it, are you using is it an open, or is it sealed up? What kind of sealant are you using around it, around the panels?
I will actually leave it a bit open so that airflow can go through there, so that the mirror doesn't fog up and obstruct, and then you get water droplets, and eventually it looks dirty on the inside.
Yeah, so you can take it out and then you can clean it down. All right.
Yep.
Is this going to have a little bit of that Alice through the looking glass down the rabbit hole kind of feel?
Yes, definitely.
And this is proposed for a 2-year period with quarterly inspections, just so you
In the description that we were given, it talked about an agreement for electricity, but there wasn't anything specific like a contract, or do you have any kind of fallback in case this agreement falls through in terms of power?
We are working on a bundled package for running some hardline network cable for a different installation, and some security cameras that we've worked with private businesses to put up. And that's just kind of bundled into that, where it'll just branch off. So it will be coming from the existing Wanda Jackson power, and it uses this much power at all. So it'll be a blip on the bill there.
Any further commissioner questions? Before we go on to a motion, I do need to ask if there's any public that would like to come up and have any comments. Great, then I would entertain.
Sure. One more question.
Sure.
The drawing we've been given of what you're proposing has 2 vertical struts on the bench. The photograph has 3 vertical struts on the bench. Does that impact what you're doing?
No, if anything, I could just leave that dark, and any lights that will be along the top and the sides shining in.
You're not altering the bench, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, I'll be staging it in my shop to where I can basically just bring it in and snap it in, turn it on, and it's
It's a
good
beautiful
to go.
bench. I'm glad you're not altering.
Okay, any more commissioner questions?
Did you design it?
Move approval?
Okay, we have a motion for approval and a second with conditions, yes?
And that was Cooper and Seward?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Mark, will you call for a roll call vote?
They get you on that motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Mosant, Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Smalling,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that completes the vote. The motion passes.
Thank you. The next item is item C, ACM walkway lights. The applicant has requested that the case be deferred to October 18th. So we'll be moving on to the next item, which is the consent docket. And we have 3 items this month. A Little Grasshopper, a mural by Denise Duong, 2520 North Classen for the Asian District Cultural Association, Ward 2. Vanny, a mural by Julie Robertson, or Jewry, 1634 North Blackwelder Avenue, number 102, for Ma Der Lao Kitchen in the Plaza District, Ward 6. And C, People Are People, a mural by Armando Ortiz, 2201 Northwest 39th Street for circa 2201 Doing Business as Tramps, Ward 2. And Robbie will make the presentation.
Sure, so I'll run through these quickly since these are consent dockets, so you can vote on them all as a block. So the first item was at that really cool triangular building at Classen and Northwest 25th. That's right next to Military Park. A lot of people have already asked, why wasn't the mural painted on the wall facing Military Park? And that is because it is under redevelopment right now, working with an architect. The new owner is working with an architect, and so she may have windows planned for that side of the park. And so the mural was planned for the north side. She's also going to have an additional entry on that side, but in working with artist Denise Duong, Denise can come back and kind of modify anything that needs to be updated for the placement of that, of the mural and the door, the new entry. So this is a kind of a mock-up of how Denise wanted to try it at the Asian District Night Market Festival. She also allowed the public to participate in this. This is a participatory mural. She created stencils, and so they were using spray and latex to participate. And then Denise will be coming back and completing the mural so that it represents a little bit more of her style and her quality of work. Let's see here if there's anything else. The Asian District Night Festival was held on August 28th, and according to the new murals policy and the standing rules that the Arts Commission has recommended to the city, she did seek that event permit because the wall was already painted. The applicant will, once it's completed, place an art marker on the east side, so it's the closest to the park on that north side of the building. And then on this particular case, to complete permitting requirements, it's Arts Commission, urban design where it needs to have a CA issued, and then a final permit. So are there any questions on this one before I go forward? Okay. Then this next one is a site that you've recommended a mural before, and it's this one by Julie Robertson. And you'll recognize this site and the previous mural. And so new owner, new menu, new story. And this, this relates more to the country of origin from the new owner and chef, and certain flowers mean certain things, and it's a reference to his mother. If the permitting, because this also has to go through Urban Design Committee, if the permitting isn't completed in time, this applicant will seek an event permit, but has not chosen to do that yet. And so we're going to wait and see. Applicant did state on the application that there were no plans for an art marker. So in accordance with your recommendations, I added that as a condition that an art marker be placed. And so the complete review cycle would be Arts Commission, Urban Design Committee, and then a permit. And then the last one, we're seeing a lot of new murals in the Northwest 39th District to kind of coincide with their new streetscape. And this is an artist that we haven't seen yet, too. We've seen a lot of things on social media, but not painted out as a public art piece. So this is by Armando Ortiz, People Are People. And you can see where Tramps is located there on the aerial. And this is the wall. And then here is the wall with the mural proposed. This was another mural that, because the wall was already painted and the artist wanted to paint over the Labor Day weekend, they sought a special event permit. So it was issued September 3rd. The applicant does have text described for an art marker in the application. This is not in a design review district, so after seeking Arts Commission's recommendation, they would go straight to permit and they'd be fully permitted. And those are the three cases on the consent docket. Do you have any questions?
Commissioners? Commissioner Smalling?
I would just like to note that it's really good to see Armando moving into this space.
Yeah.
He does a lot of fashion design. And these kinds of imageries that you see, this kind of image, he brings into his fashion sensibility, and he's been a long time person of note, he and his partner there at the Paseo, and it's just wonderful to see that there.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll want to hear that next time he sees you, you know. It's a great thing to pass along.
Any other commissioner questions? Seeing no other questions, I'll ask Mark for a roll call vote, please.
We need a motion and a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion,
I'm brand new. I have a motion from
right here.
Commissioner Smalling
We get,
and from.
Mr. Chairman?
Motion.
we have a commissioner here who's been trying to make a motion all day long.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Did you make a movement?
No, motion to,
Good.
whatever that is.
So recognized.
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Eichmann. Now may we have a roll call vote?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Mosant, Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Smalling,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
That completes the vote, Mr. Chair. The motion passes.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to item 5, discussion, action on reports from committees. The Commission Advocate, Meg Salyer's not here. Do you have anything, Robbie, for her?
No, I did want to say, I think Meg would have said something about the State Arts Council has released the agenda for the annual Statewide Arts Conference coming up. And so anybody interested in that, you might want to look on their website for that. But that was, I think, other than the First American Museum opening last weekend, that would have been something else I'm sure she would have said. The Shakaya Booker art installation, I think she would have probably said something about that too. So those are what I know that she would have touched on. She would have probably had a long list, so.
Okay. Arts and Culture Building Trust Task Force. Neither Allison or Brian are here. Do we have anything?
Right, so the trust will try to meet in October. That's their next step, and that is not scheduled yet. But then if they can get all of their work done in October, then they'd be back to Arts Commission in November or December. So.
Okay. And the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Access Task Force, also Brian and Tiffany McKnight.
Right, so the committee, the two co-chairs had, a long list, a list of 3 to 4 things that they were going to touch on. They have already met with staff about the first one that they thought was the most imperative, and that has to do with recruiting artists and providing access to artists. And so you should expect some type of a report back that would be an action item for the October 18th meeting, is what we're targeting for that.
Okay. Any questions from commissioners? Okay, we'll move on to the staff report. Robbie?
So there are 2 things I wanted to bring up under staff report this month. I hope everybody got to see the big article that Steve Lackmeyer did on public art. I went ahead and I had to go out and buy 2, one for me and one for Randy, because I don't have a subscription to the Oklahoman, and I wanted to read it. But it's something that Steve Lackmeyer worked for weeks on. And there was even a map created of both the public art and the privately funded art. So I did bring a copy in case anybody wants to look at this. We won't be able to hover in this room and look at it. We'll have to go out there and look at it. But if anybody does want to see that, I brought that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that OVAC is planning another art crawl. This year, the art crawl was something that they launched during COVID because they wanted artists to still have exposure, and they decided to do, since they're a statewide organization, they wanted to do it all over the state, and they created a roadmap, and people could drive, in their own town or go to Edmond or Moore or Norman and see artists that they might not have seen before. And all artists, like if they set up in their front yard or at a location like a parking lot, they had things for sale and they could talk to patrons. So they're doing that again this year. And the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs, we've signed up to be a road trip partner, which means that we will be helping promote the event both directly to artists but also to the public on our social media. The reason we're not one of the primary sponsors is we don't have a site for artists to set up. So those were the 2 options. But I did want you to know about that. In case you have any other questions, you can contact either me or Randy. And that should be happening in the next month. So.
Any questions from commissioners? Okay, we'll move on to item 7, comments from commission members. I'll start out with, since Meg's not here, I was at the First American Museum grand opening all weekend, parking cars, and it was fabulous. The place is world-class. The exhibits there, some of them are on loan from the Smithsonian, so that speaks to the excellence of the place, and I'd encourage everybody to go out there. And OVAC is having their 12 by 12 this Friday at Dunlop Cotting, and I'm sure there are several people here that had pieces in the show. Any commissioners who'd like to report? Commissioner Loftus.
I have one comment. You may have missed this announcement on ESPN, but the state championship for croquet was held this weekend in Oklahoma City, and your old dad here came in third in his flight. So just a quick comment. You probably missed that announcement.
Congratulations.
Yes, well, thank you.
Does anybody else have any awards or other things to announce? Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, if none, a reminder that the next meeting is October 18th, 2021. We'll be holding it in person at the City Council Chambers, 4 p.m. And unless anybody else has anything, I will adjourn. Thank you.
That was quick.
Nice job.
Thank you.